Welcome to Mystery in Minutes. Today we're going to talk about a 2018 film, Apostle. Spoilers ahead, and viewer discretion is advised. The movie begins in 1905 with the handsome protagonist Thomas Richardson having returned from his distressing travels, only to learn through a morbid letter handed to him that his beloved sister Jennifer has been abducted and taken to the island of Ariston, with her zealot kidnappers demanding a hefty ransom in exchange for her safe return. He is cautioned about the blasphemers that are part of this mysterious cult. Thomas and his now old and weary father have been estranged for reasons unknown, but he loves his sister dearly and sets on this perilous mission to rescue her. On his arduous journey, we get a whiff of his troubled past through his recurrent and crippling headaches, which he often has to suppress with the use of strong medication. When he reaches the remote island, he, along with others, are told not to carry anything else but essentials and family heirlooms. In line to get on the island, Thomas notices a red mark on his ticket and suspects it's a marker to single him out, which is why he discreetly swaps it with that of his fellow passenger under the pretense of assisting him with his belongings. While he gets on the island without a hitch, the oblivious passenger with his marked ticket is seen to be taken away, presumably for questioning or worse. The seemingly harmless cult welcomes people on the island that may have run-ins with the British establishment, and the king is the founder. Prophet Malcolm and his close aides, Quinn and Frank themselves, are escaped convicts. Upon their arrival, new members undergo a thorough check and are escorted to their respective rooms. While making his way to attend a sermon preached by the prophet at the cult's church, Thomas encounters Andrea, Malcolm's daughter. Inside the church, he notices a sinister-looking entity lurking outside its windows looking at him. A distracted Thomas catches the attention of Malcolm. A brief scene of plant life withering away indicates that something is amiss on the island. Meanwhile, the passenger, believed to be Thomas, is beaten up, irretrievably broken, and eventually killed when it becomes evident that he doesn't have the ransom they sought, raising immediate suspicion of an intruder. That night, Thomas stealthily sneaks around to spy on Malcolm, following him to a concealed house that he then sketches a map of to go back to. Jeremy and F. Fionn are in a secret romantic affair and engage in sexual congress, which is against the rules and would have to suffer dire consequences if word got out. To their misfortune, Thomas stumbles upon Jeremy and F. Fionn on the way back to his room and now knows of the affair. We soon discover that the island is home to a bloodthirsty goddess hungry for human sacrifice, who decides who and what to take or leave behind. Worshipping members of the cult attempt to satiate her by filling jars with their own blood and leaving them outside their doors. We witness the goddess lapping up Thomas's blood from beneath the floorboards when he accidentally cuts his finger on his room key. This sacrilegious entity is an extension of the real goddess's weakened state, as she is held captive by Malcolm and his aides in a house Thomas will soon find himself in. She seems to be punishing the islanders for her mistreatment at the hand of her captors by cursing the land with deprivation, toxicity, unbeknownst to them. The next day, Jeremy asks Thomas to work on a nearby boat with him as part of his daily task. Thomas confronts Jeremy there and learns that the cult lacks the resources to continuously provide the necessary animal sacrifices to maintain the island's fertility. He then blackmails Jeremy, threatening to expose his affair with F. Fionn unless he assists in rescuing his sister. Left with no other option, Jeremy reluctantly agrees. In an effort to identify and eliminate the intruder, the newcomers on the island are summoned for interrogation. It is during this process that one of them is exposed as a spy sent by the king with a mission to assassinate Malcolm. However, Thomas intervenes just in time, saving Malcolm's life, and the assassin is killed. This gains him Malcolm's trust, who shows his gratitude to Thomas by spilling his own blood for him. F. Fionn confides in Andrea about her love for Jeremy and seeks her advice on the way to ascertain a pregnancy. When she reveals she hasn't bled since winter, Andrea fears she may be pregnant for many months already and tells her of another way to be sure. Being the daughter of one of the founders of the island makes matters worse for F. Fionn when her father, Quinn, catches her using a mirror to confirm her pregnancy the way Andrea counseled her to. Fionn is frightened by her father's rancor and becomes aware of him creepily peeping through a hole in the bathroom door to confirm his doubts about their impious conjugation. He is not happy about this turn of events, and the alarmingly unpleasant moment serves as a foreboding of the tragedy that is going to befall the smitten couple at the hands of this brood man. Later, in a desperate bid to secure the ransom, Malcolm parades Jennifer through the village, threatening to end her life unless the intruder confesses their identity. With time running out, Thomas decides to save his sister on the night of festivities as Malcolm and his aides comb every room in search of the intruder. They discover the map Thomas drew, which unfortunately seals his fate. Thomas is at the house with Jeremy, whom he asks to stand guard with a gun and orders to shoot anyone who comes by. He enters the sewage tunnel where he is pursued by the entity from before, who he barely managed to outswim. The tunnel leads him to strange markings on a wall, heading towards a covert hideout where he sees a devout creature called Grinder offering a constrained goddess human sacrifice. Malcolm, Quinn, and Frank fail to get their hands on Thomas, and he sneaks past the creature into a cave. It's there that Andrea appears before him, and he shares with her his traumatic experience in Peking as a missionary that destroyed his faith in God forever. He proceeds to tell her that her father is not the man she thinks he is, but in fact, a dangerous murderer. Andrea offers him clean clothes to change into while struggling to believe what she has just heard. She takes Thomas to a field where he can be safe, and she shows him crops that are dying as a result of the goddess's ire. Jeremy goes by Fionn's house where she joyfully reveals her pregnancy to him, and he convinces her to leave with his father. Frank and him start a new life together as a family. As he goes to get the gift of hope he carved for her, Quinn arrives home and in a fit of self-righteous rage kills Fionn for conceiving an illegitimate child with a man he most certainly does not approve of. When Jeremy returns, he is aghast at the sight of Fionn lying dead on the floor, and a heated brawl breaks between Quinn and him, resulting in a wounded Quinn, who then gets out and blames a fleeing Jeremy for Fionn's murder. He assumes authority over Malcolm and sentences Jeremy to death through the ritual of purification on the heavens stand, as per the edict of the land, and threatens the same fate to those who dare to disobey him. As Jeremy runs for his life, he cries out for help when he encounters Thomas and Andrea. Andrea pleads his innocence to the guards taking him away, but they command her to stay put. The two rush after Jeremy, but despite Andrea's screaming pleas, can't stop his stroke of death. Tethered to a board and secured by leather binds, Quinn hollows out Jeremy's skull with a menacing manual drill and inserts flower petals in it in a ritualistic purification. Malcolm and an inconsolable Frank arrive at the scene, where Thomas too is now bound and held. Quinn commands Malcolm to prove his leadership in front of the cult members by killing Thomas as a sign of fate to save the members of the cult. Andrea begs her father not to kill Thomas when a gunshot made by Frank in the distance distracts everyone enough for Thomas to free himself. He spares Malcolm because of Andrea and chases after Frank, who is determined to put an end to all of this misery by killing the goddess. He is unsuccessful and instead gets killed by the Grinder protecting her. With his dying breath, he asks Thomas to finish the necessary deed. Thomas jumps into the pit leading to the goddess's lair. As this is happening, Quinn follows Malcolm to the house and shoots him in the chest, leaving him to die in a ditch. Thomas finds Jennifer ready to be offered to the goddess and promises to get her off the island, only to get knocked out by the creature Grinder and put on an actual meat grinder on which loses a finger in the struggle to break free. Our hero manages to escape yet again and kill the vile monstrosity. Once the ordeal is over, the goddess beckons Jeremy to her in a foreign language, revealing that she has been waiting for him. She places her pointy fingers on his head, digging into his temples, and a flashback takes us back to when Malcolm, Quinn, and Frank first arrived on the island, perceiving the goddess's immense power and capturing her for their selfish motives and greed. Thomas is bewitched by her. A disgruntled Quinn ruthlessly takes Andrea as a prisoner along with Jennifer to keep them as his sex slaves and feed their offspring to the goddess, whom he regards as a machine of bounty that needs to be fed. The goddess asks Thomas to free her, which he does, by setting her shrine and trap on fire while asking for her forgiveness. He leaves to find the island's guards impaled by the goddess on the trees of the forest. Thomas finally locates his sister Jennifer and Andrea bound in chains, and a fierce battle ensues between Quinn and him, during which Thomas is fatally injured. Despite their dire circumstances, the resilient women muster up their strength and weaponize their chains to choke Quinn and forcefully drag him across the room. In the midst of the chaos, Thomas plunges his knife into Quinn, gripping it tightly, creating a lethal gash that ultimately takes his life. As the worn-out trio attempts to reach the boats departing the island while it is engulfed in flames, Thomas comes to the gut-wrenching realization that he won't make it. With great courage and love, he urges his sister to leave him behind and save herself. Their heavy hearts weigh them down, but the women agree and manage to make it to the very last boat just in time. In the last moments, Thomas is unexpectedly rejoined by Malcolm, who, as it turns out, was not dead after all. In a chilling denouement, we are left with a deeply horrifying scene. Thomas's eyes slowly turning a ghostly pale as he becomes one with the vibrant grass he is lying on. It appears as though he has transformed into a vessel for the goddess of the island, merging with the very essence of the land itself. What did you think of the video? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more.